ਇੱਕ ਓਂਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਜੁਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਅਦਤੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵਾ ਓਂਕਾਰ ਗੁਰ ਅੰਗਦ ਪੇਵਾ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਗੁਰ ਅਮਰ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਕਰਤਾ ਰਾਮਦਾਸ ਗੁਰਵਾਰੇ ਪੁਰਖ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਰਜਨ ਸੁਖਦਾਨੀ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਹਰਿ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਗੁਣ ਖਾਨੀ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਹੈ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਹਰਿ ਰਾਏ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਹਰਿ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਧਿਆਏ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਰਾਏ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਦਸਮੇ ਸਹਾਇ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਗੁਰ ਗਿਆਨਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਬੰਦਰ ਭਗਵਾਨਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਕਲ ਜੁਗ ਪਇਓ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਰੂਪ ਮਹਾਨ ਦਸ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਇਹੋ ਰੂਪ ਹੈ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਜੀ ਜਾਨ ਪੂਰਨ ਦੇਖਿਓ ਆਤਮਾ ਦਵੈਤੈ ਸਰਬ ਨਿਵਾਰ ਪੈ ਸੰਤ ਮਨ ਸੰਤਨ ਪਦ ਨਮੋ ਹਮਾਰ ਮੂਕ ਉਚਰੇ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਖਟ ਪੈਂਗਰਨ ਛਰ ਜਾਏ ਅੰਧ ਲਖੈ ਬਦਰੋਸਨ ਜੋ ਕਾਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਾਏ ਕਹਾ ਬੁੱਧ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤੁਛ ਹਮਾਰੀ बरन सके मैं जो तहारी हम ना सकता से तुम्हारी आप ले हो तुम कथा सदारी सो कहो टल गुर सेविया निस सहज सभाए दर्शन परस्या गुरु के जन्म मरण दुख जान दर्शन परस्या गुरु के जन्म मरण दुख जान
सतनाम श्री वाहिगुरु साहिब जी गावे को तान होवे किसे तान गावे को दात जाने निशान गावे को गुण उड़ियाइयाँ चार गावे को विद्या विक्रम विचार गावे को साज करे तनखे गावे को जिय लै फिर दे गावे को जापै दिसै दूर गावे को वेखै हादरा हदूर कथना कथी न आवे तोड़ कथ कथ कथी कोटि कोट कोट तिंदा दे लै दे थक पाहे जुगा जुगंतर खाही खाहे हुक्मी हुक्म चलाए राहो नानक विगसे वे प्रवाहो
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह Guru Satsang Ji Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We'll continue on with the arts of the third Pauri, the definitions of the third Pauri of the Sri Japji Sahib. We have gone halfway through the arts with regards to those people who are praising God. What do they gain? What are their merits from doing such a thing? We're going to finish off this body today and hopefully go on to the fourth body after that. We're going to continue on. The last part of the Katha that we went on to was Gaveko Vike Hadara Hadur, where it says there are those people who see God as being near, those people who see God as being closer than close in the way that Bhagavad Prahlad by the time that Harnaksh got hold of a sword and tried to put it through his throat, the Lord appeared within the form of Narsingh from a thumb from a pillar and fought him. God was so close that he was able to do that. And now we're going to go on to the remaining definitions. And initially the Siddhs then said, okay Maharaj, they said, look, there has been so many eulogies, so many commentaries on God that it must have come to an end. There must be an end now. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji replies,
Kathana kathi na ave tod.
They say, look Siddhs, they said the Katha Vaheguru, the commentary of God, or the eulogy of God, singing the praise of God, is endless. It is beyond. It is without an end. It is infinite in every manner. And Maharaj says the reason for that is those people who are performing the kathas, who are doing the commentary, there is no end to them. They come and go, another one comes. And those commentaries that they're doing of are the scriptures, and the scriptures seem to have no end. You know, we see new commentaries coming out all the time. We see lots of commentaries from the past. Just to see Japji Sahib, according to Gyani Sant Singh Maskeen, there are about 700 commentaries on just the Japji Sahib, let alone the ones that are coming out now. So the Katha doesn't come to an end at all. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji continue.
Kath kath kathi koti kot kot.
They say, look, those people who are performing the Katha, those people who are eulogizing God, the methods that they do the eulogy in, and the eulogies that they do, they're endless. They are infinite in number, they're infinite in people, they're infinite in the methods that the eulogy is carried out. Some do it through one Shastra, some do it through Gurbani, some do it through the Quran, some do it through the Torah, some do it through other religious texts, some do it through just basis of spirituality where they don't believe in a defined religion. There are new age religions coming all the time. There are religions that are coming to an end all the time as well. And in that way, there are infinite numbers of methods, people, ways of the Katha being done, and still there is no end. In the past, there have been infinite numbers of people who have eulogized God. Now, currently, there are infinite numbers of people that are eulogizing God. If you look at the population at the moment, we're talking 7 billion people on this earth. The number of churches, mosques, synagogues, gurdwaras, mandirs, religious institutes to do with spiritualism, religious institutes to do with harmony and paganism. Whatever method it is, currently there are millions and infinite numbers of people who are worshipping God, and that is just on this planet, and that is a diversity that we see. And in the future there will be more as well, and they will continue to come, but still there is no end, and there will be no end. So Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji explained this to the Siddhs, and the Siddhs then asked to say, okay, you're saying that the eulogy of God, there is no end. But God continues to give to the world. He gives in a nature of charity. He gives in a nature of charity to the world. There must be an end to this, the merits that He gives, the materialistic values, the materialistic things. There must be an end to this. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji reply,
Denda de lende tak pahe.
So Denda de, say God is the one who is giving, and He is the giver who is continuing to give. He says, but the issue is, lende takupai, those people who are receiving, they get tired of receiving. How do they get tired of receiving? Either they receive too much during their life and they're fed up of it, or secondly, they end up passing away. The materialistic gifts of God continue to come and go, come and go, come and go, even when the life of an individual comes to an end. And the human beings will continue to take everything that they can. They will take all the gifts, they'll take all the materialistic pleasures, and they will live off it. But God never ceases to come to an end with His gifts. He continues to give them. And then you get the individuals who are going through life after life after life. They get tired of going from life after life after life. And God says to them, look, you need to give up your pride, and you can go through all this 8.4 million lives. You can go through this cycle and then gain the merit from it. The merit from that is to gain human life. And in the Baramaha it states that it states it within there that, that's what you want to do. And the whole purpose of going through transmigration, you get tired of transmigration, is to gain the human life. For the human life, this is your opportunity to become one with God. Gurbani states, that this is your one chance. You've been given this golden opportunity to become one with God. Manas Janam Dalambha. It states that this is the human birth is the greatest of all. And it is within this life that a person gets tired of going through the cycle of birth and death, that they gain the divine sermons from the Guru. They gain Brahm Vidya, which is the divine knowledge, and through that they realize their own life, they realize their own true self, and the cycle of birth and death comes to an end. So then that God continues to give them lives and chances. Lende takpai, they become tired of doing this. And then Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji continue.
Juga jugantar kahi kahe.
Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji states that God continues to give throughout all the ages. Like I said in the past, where it says Kath Kath Kathi Koti Kot Kot, the eulogy of God has been done previously, will be done now, and is done in the future. Here Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji says that Juga Jugantar, so the various ages, Kahi Kai, that people have been eating or using all these materialistic gifts. So in the ages of Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kaljug, those things are still given. God continues to give. He does not stop at any point. Any age in whichever is time, whichever is life, and God gives life, He will continue to give His gifts. And Kahi Kai, He is able to give everything to an individual, whether that is materialistic, whether that is sexual, whether that is metaphysical, whether that is spiritual, they will gain these gifts all throughout their lives. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji states here that at no point does the individual have a moment where these gifts stop. They never stop. God continues to give these gifts. And if the person is blessed, then they will be given the gifts of Brahm Gyan. They will be given divine knowledge within these ages. They will gain the materialistic pleasures as well, and they will be able to be liberated at the same time as living in this world. They'll become a Raja Jogi, like people like Raja Janak. And so Maharaj then continues on, and he is asked with regards to the Brahm Gyanis. And say, Maharaj, those who consider Brahm Gyanis, you've just mentioned them, do they do anything themselves with regards to the will of God, or do they accept it? And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji continues,
Hukumi hukum chalai raho.
And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, look, the Brahm Gyanis do have their own work, they have their own path, and they continue to do this. They live in accordance to the will of God. They accept the will of God, and they always maintain the will of God and live within it. They do not go out of this at any point. And what they will do is they will continue that will of God going within this world and constantly. And then if you look at the Hukumi you've got is the Satguru, Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji. They lived within the will of God. They accepted everything. They had all the divine knowledge, they had all the divine attributes. They themselves were Sadguru and Brahm, but they accepted the will of God. They played the game of life and they accepted Shahidi. They didn't have to. They could have destroyed everything. Even their Sikhs could have destroyed everything. Bhai Mati Das said he could have done all that. Bhai Pera, Bhai Mokha, Bhai Jetta, Bhai Prana, Bhai Bidya, Bhai Bidhi. Basically, they all had the ability, spiritual abilities to do whatever they wanted, but they all accepted the will of God. And what they're saying is, the Satgurus accepted the will of God. The Brahm Gyanis do exactly the same. They accept the will of God and they live within the will of God. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji continues to talk about the Brahm Gyanis.
Nanak vigse ve pravaho.
Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji says that they remain ve pravaho. They remain unattached and uninfluenced by the world. They're not bothered about any worldly issues going on. They're not bothered about anything else. They remain in their own life. They're exempt from ego and desire and pride. They just live within the will of God. They accept the will of God and they just continue with life no matter what happens. They do not go into depression. They do not fall in love with the world. They remain unattached to it. So the Siddhs have heard all this, and they've heard that all the Brahm Gyanis are without ego and pride. They've got rid of this and they live within the will of God. So they then asked Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, said, these Brahm Gyanis, are they independent or are they dependent? And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji replied,
Hukumi hukum chalai raho. Nanak vigse ve pravaho.
Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji here says, look, the Brahm Gyanis, or Tattvabhite, or the Satgurus here, they said they are not affected by any upasana, by anything that takes place in the world. They are forever independent. They are independent and remain independent and remain unaffected by anything that goes on. And because of that, they have gained their divine form, and within their divine form they remain blooming. They blossom in their divine form, and they remain in a state of bliss all the time. That is due to them living in accordance to the will of God and not going against it. Those people who go against the will of God, they're the ones that suffer, because they don't want to follow the will of God. And the sadhus are able to not just control their mind, but they're able to control their sensory organs. They're able to control everything. And through that method, they live in acceptance of the will, but are independent to the world. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, those people who have accepted the will of God, accept the will of God, and living in accordance to the will of God, they will remain in a blissful form because they are unaffected by everything. And here, this is the end of the definitions for this body. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji explain within this body how a person gains Brahm Vidya, Brahm Gyan, divine knowledge, and it is through living in acceptance with the will of God, and always remaining in acceptance with the will of God. And those are the completed definitions for the third body of the Sri Japji Sahib. Next time we'll continue and go on to the fourth one, but for this one we'll finish it off there. And Kamalpreet Singh, if you want to close up, and we'll do the Mangals, please. Thank you.
Gave ko taan, hove kise taan, gave ko daat, jane nisan, gave ko gun udiyaiyan char, gave ko vidya vikam vichar, gave ko saaj kare tan khe, gave ko jiye le fir de, gave ko jape dise dur, gave ko vekhe hadra hadur, kathna kathi na ave tod, kath kath kathi koti kot kot, dinda de lende thak pahe, juga jugantar kahi kahe, hukmi hukum chalaye raho, nanak vigse ve pravaho.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. He Gobind, He Gopal, He Dayal Lal, Prananath Anath Sakhe, Deen Dard Nivar, He Samrath Agam Puran Mohe Mein Atar, Andhakup Mahapayan, Nanak Pare Atar, Ai Prabhu Saranagati, Kirpa Nid Dayal, Ek Akhar Har Manavaste, Nanak Hota Nihal, Ek Akhar Har Manavaste, Nanak Hota Nihal. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.